Hi again. Here we are to continue. Hopefully this time maybe wrapping up. Might be two videos, but let's continue with our shopping cart example. And we've got all the code running here, and the cart's functioning. Like you can add new items to the cart. Oh, hey, we got to fix this formatting here, right? So that's a big problem. Let's refresh that, right? And then also, we need to apply some styles. So let's talk about this thing right here. Like, what is going on here? Okay. So let's imagine. Let me get the calculator out here, right? And you should be familiar with this. If I take 1 and I divide it by 2, I get 0.5. So that it divides evenly, and I get one number, right? Like I get a fraction, right? But if I took the number 1 and I divided by 3, I get this, right? And the 3's go on to infinity, right? So we all understand that in the base 10 number system is that 3 does not go into 1 evenly, right? In the I guess base 2 number system or the binary system, we can run into those same things. So essentially, like if you, and actually you can run code in the console here. You can say, what if I said let t equal 0.1, right? And then if I said, console.log, t, let's do t again right there. And then I hit return, you can see it puts 0.1. But if I said, t plus equals 0.1, and then I console logged t again. Why does it always do that to me? And then I would get 0.2. But what happens when I add another 0.1, right? Like if I say t plus equals 0.1, oh, then I get this, right? So this is kind of the equivalent in binary numbers of 0.3. It actually doesn't come out evenly, okay? And some systems kind of like hide that from you, but in JavaScript it's just kind of out there, right? So how do we deal with this? You'll see this a lot. Essentially we can just round off to the closest number, and that'll give us the right value. In our case up here too, we want to round off to a number that's like a monetary value, right? So we always have 2 digits after the decimal, right? And that's like hundredths of cents, right? Or hundredths of a dollar. So let's fix that, right? So anytime we display the price, what we want to do is we want to round it off to the nearest whole number, right? Or not the nearest whole number, but the nearest like hundredth, right? So let's do that. JavaScript gives us a couple tools for this. Oops. Let's see here. So let's go find the places where this is happening. So essentially, like right now, it's happening in the show items method, right, where we draw each of these rows. So I'm in show items here, and the quantity is always going to be a whole number, so that's okay. But the total down here is going to be a problem, and when we sum up the price and the quantity times the price, that could be a problem, right? So JavaScript gives us this this value. I'll do it in the console here. Remember, we've got t and it's 0.3, whatever. What we can do is we can say console log t dot toFixed. So toFixed is a method that takes the number of decimal places you want to round off to, and then it actually returns a string. So that's an important point with toFixed is you call it on a number, but it rounds the number off to a number of decimal places. So if I want to round this off to 2 decimal places, I can put a 2 here, right? But what it does is it actually returns a string. So if I log that, you can see it says 0.03. Now it doesn't show the quotation marks, but you can see it's in a different font and a different color. And I think the console's trying to tell me that this is a string, right? So we can do the same thing here in our show items method, right? So over here I've got quantity and price, and I want to get the value here first, right? So I've got, I've got the name, price, quantity, and then quantity times price. So and inside this $ curly braces, you can run code. So this is all going to be turned into a string in the end, but we can insert or run an expression within here. We could calculate this outside and then put it in there, and that might be convenient too. But what I think I'll do right here is wrap this in parentheses to tell JavaScript to do the math here first, and then after the parentheses I'll do .toFixed, and then I'll say how many decimal places I want to round off to, and so I want to round off to 2 decimal places, so I'll put a 2 in there. And then maybe on the price right here I'll do the same thing, so I'll say .toFixed, just to make sure that that is correct. And then down here where it says, cart total, get total. So actually get total method calculates the total. So we should do the toFixed in there, I think. So I'll go find get total. Oh, I guess we already did it here. Shoot, I forgot about that. So that's already done for us. Anyway, let's refresh this. Oh, 297. So that's pretty good. And then if I add items, I don't get any funny business here, right? Okay, so now let's start adding some styles, right? So we'll put and maybe I'll move this into the next video, but we'll just get started here. So far I've got the body tag, and it's got a couple items in it, right? I've got the form, I've got a div, I've got, this UL and another div. I probably need a container to wrap all these, right? So I'll add a div to the top level. Let me cut this closing tag out and move it down to the bottom here, and then I'm going to tab all the stuff inside there over 1, right? And then now I've got everything in here, and then let's give this a class name called container, right? And just to get started, it would be nice if our form kind of had a width that made sense, right? Instead of having everything kind of bunched up on one side, I'd like to put it in the middle of the screen with kind of a width that is, wide enough to give everything room to display, but not too wide where things are all the way across the screen. So I'll say, container, and I'm up here in the head tag where I've created a style tag. So in the style tag, we can just write CSS. I mean, you could move this to another file too, but I'm just going to put it in this file so everything's in the same file here, right? So I'll say container, and then I'll say width of, maybe 800 pixels is a good number. And then to center it, I'll say margin auto. Okay, so margin auto sets the margin on the left and right to be an equal amount, and that's what moves the thing to the center, right? Let's see here. Hey, wait a minute, it didn't work. Let's check. Did I spell container correctly? Yeah, I think I got that. I did width of 800. Oh, you know what? I think it's working. I forgot. These things, though, I'll have to position within that 800 pixels, right? Let's actually just double check here, right? Yeah, there we go, right? So I can see this is the margin on the left, and then there's some margin on the right, but these things don't quite reach over to the edge yet. So that's working pretty good. I had kind of zoomed in so we didn't see it. So that's a good start. Maybe this this list right here would look better if we removed the padding and the bullet points, right? And if you inspect here, you can see when you select the item, the green area. Let me actually do it this way again, right? The green area is padding, the orange area is margin, right? So I want to get rid of both of those, and the blue area is kind of the width of the content, right? So let's also add another rule here and say UL margin 0, padding of 0, and then to remove the bullet points from the list, we'll say list style none. Okay. So that looks a little better, right? My fonts don't look so great. Let's fix those too. Let's add a style for our base fonts, right? So we should always set that on the body tag so everything inherits these styles. So I'll add a style for the body, and I'll say font family of Helvetica. That's pretty generic, but kind of nicer than what we had. And then we can say font size of, and now the default size is 16. I'll just put that in, but if we want to make anything larger, we can make this 18 or 20, right? So I'll do that, and then that's what we got, right? So that doesn't look too bad. We'll continue this in the next video, and essentially it's just, you know, adding styles to the various elements. You can go ahead and do this on your own and give it a try and see what you come up with, and then I'll make another video and I'll style it and we'll see what happens, right? Essentially, I'm going to kind of make it look like what we had here in the original one. Okay, so thanks for watching. Feel free to post any comments if you have questions.